this type of ceremonial robe is not used during the Qing dynasty. The tradition stopped because they used the Manchu style as official imperial dress system, but this tradition lingered or remained in Joseon dynasty in Korean Peninsula. So this dress in Korea, for example, we have authentic garment from the early 20th century because there was a royal family used this for their wedding, and then people, like dressmakers, they recreate these wedding gown. It's either used for wedding or enthronement, coronation ceremony. It's the highest feast, and we have several of them. You have a phoenix, you have flowers, and then you have again phoenix in the gold foiling, and then embroidery of the dragon. So these are all signs of royal dress, and ordinary citizens hardly ever saw this, right? Unless you work in the court, and they never wore this. And then ordinary citizens of 21st century, we see this in the museums, at the National Palace Museum of Korea. This is open. If you are in Korea, I think you should go to National Palace Museum of Korea to see original works. So Korean Peninsula, they have these dynasties, and Korea didn't have this experience of conquest by non-ethnic, non-Korean ethnic people. They suffered a little bit during the Goryeo dynasty by Mongolian emperors, during the Yuan dynasty, and I think during those times they were also forced to wear the Mongol style dress if you work at the court. But other than that, they had their own style. And Joseon dynasty lasted very long. As you can see, it's almost 500 years of a period. And then Joseon became Korean Empire for the last like 10, 13 years. So that's basically the same royal family. So clothes, especially royal clothes, remain pretty well in Korean Peninsula. What is interesting is this royal clothing in Korean Peninsula actually helps China to restore their Ming dynasty or pre-Qing dynasty imperial clothes, because they have all those living knowledges of it. So Korea had 3 kingdoms period, about 500 years. And then they had, so out of 3 kingdoms, Shilla became a unified regime. So it became unified Shilla. So it lasted about 300 years. And then in the north, we had a Balhae. And then that became unified into Goryeo dynasty. So the current name of Korea comes from this name, Goryeo. Because Korean Peninsula was known to the world audiences during the Yuan dynasty. So this became the Korea's anglicized name of Korea. And then we had the Joseon dynasty for about 500 years. In Korean clothing, you can really see the Confucian principles of clothing well implemented in the country throughout the modern period. So again, the chronological flow of Korea is important. I want you to remember. So Korean Peninsula is long, South Korea and North Korea. And again, because of that latitude, the climate is different. So silk grows well in the southern part. So it will grow very well in, especially here, Daegu, like the Gyeongsang province. Silk industry is traditionally going really well. And then slightly above, like this Chungcheong province, we have rainy, and then hemp. Hemp can grow in any climate. And also silk, in these southern provinces, it's more like 3 seasons other than the winter time. And then in the northern part, if they really try hard, they can produce a small amount of silk only into several months in the summer. But here, the southern part, the production is more reliable. And Seoul was the capital of Joseon dynasty, and it remained that way because it's in the center, and so it continues. So currently, what do people in North Korea wear? That is an interesting question. So I have some information about North Korean fashion and textile production. So I'm going to talk a little bit about it, but if you're interested, you can search for this. North Korea created their own synthetic fiber called vinalong. Obviously, it's some variation of nylon, right? But they have their own vinalong. There are some articles. I'm going to post it for you. Interesting invention. So finally, Japan. You have this many different dynasties, but you should not feel intimidated. So Jomon, Yayoi, Kofun, these correspond to Three Kingdoms period in Korea, for example, and then Asuka, Nara, and these are corresponding to unified Shilla in Korea, and then that's also equivalent to Tang Dynasty in China. So it's like a sort of a medieval, right? And then Kamakura is Goryeo Dynasty in Korea, and it's also equivalent to Song and Mien. And then Muromachi, Momoyama, Tokugawa, this is their early modern period, equivalent to Joseon Dynasty in Korea or Ming Dynasty in China. So Muromachi, Momoyama, Tokugawa. And then after Tokugawa period, emperor is going to rule again. So Meiji, Taisho, Showa, these are the royal reign. And then we have Heisei, and actually it ended in 2018. And then we have emperor, it's now called Reiwa period. Reiwa. Akihito retired. He didn't die, but he retired. Hirohito, this is our Hirohito. And then, so in Japan, again, you have the north and south thing. Like this is a south, and then it's a little bit more to the north. So you have the north. The major clothes production is an area called Kyoto. Kyoto is an ancient capital of Japan all the way until the Tokugawa period over here. The Tokugawa is also called Edo period. Edo period. So until that time, Kyoto was the capital of Japan. So these are like, the tourist map talking about the geisha, Japanese woman entertainer. And obviously geisha are the fashionistas. They are today's influencers. If Kyoto dynasty, the geishas in Kyoto created any blog site or something, then people will inundate and imitate geisha, just like a dress style. So Kyoto, you have textile markets called the Nishijin. We will have all these later on, so you don't have to worry about the spellings, but we have a textile market in Kyoto, so we will see all those provincial productions sold in Kyoto because it's imperial capital. Nagoya, you can have a Nagoya here. Nagoya is also important textile production center. And then if you go to Wajima or these areas, they also have their famous summer fabrics with shibori dyeing at some of it. But each area, they have their own specialty textile decoration or textile treatments. And then the plants themselves were very much grown along this coast area. Especially this coast, Shikoku and the northern part of Shikoku, they are important textile production centers. So even today, we have a lot of textile manufacturers in this area, like the northern part of Shikoku, there is on smaller island called Seto. Like that area is full of people. But then the chemical, how do you call it? Like a chemical production, right? Like out of oil, like a polyester, synthetic textiles. You have a lot of factories in Osaka, that area. And then these are Ainu. Can you recognize the Ainu people I showed to you? So they use alum trees or other tree barks that populates in this area as clothing materials.